I didn't know that 70 was the number of breaths you take before you forget who you are. I learned that in a hospital room. My mother's. She was dying. Not quickly, not peacefully. She was dying in the way that old photographs fade. Slowly, unevenly, one detail at a time. First her hair went white, then her eyes went gray. Then her memories started to slip away like water through a cracked cup. I visited her every day. I sat by her bed and held her hand and listened to her ask me the same questions. Who are you? Where's my husband? Why am I here? Her husband, my father, had been dead for 12 years. She'd been in this hospice for 8 months, and I was her daughter, the one she'd raised, the one she'd taught to ride a bike and bake bread and fold fitted sheets. But to her, I was a stranger wearing a familiar perfume. The doctors called it Alzheimer's. I called it a slow erasure. But the number 70 came from somewhere else. It came from the clock on the wall of her room. It was a cheap plastic clock, the kind you buy at a drugstore, with a white face and black numbers. And every time I looked at it, and the hour hand was on the 7. 7, 70, but it was never 7. I checked my phone. 2:14 p.m. Look at the clock. 7:47 p.m. Clock said 7. Midnight. Clock said 7. I asked the nurses about it. They said the clock had been broken for weeks. They'd taken the batteries out. The hands didn't move. I pointed at the clock. The hands were moving, slowly, inexorably, towards 7, then past it, then back again. The nurses looked at each other. One of them said, very gently, maybe you should get some rest, dear. I didn't get rest. I sat by my mother's bed and watched the clock and counted. 70 seconds between each chime, except the clock didn't chime. It had no chime, but I heard it anyway, a low resonant tone, like a bell underwater. 70 seconds. Chime. 70 seconds. Chime. On the third night, my mother sat up in bed. She hadn't sat up in weeks. Her eyes were clear, focused. She looked at me and said my name, my real name. Not the name she'd been calling me. The name of her long-dead sister, the name of her childhood dog, the name of the nurse who'd helped her bathe that morning. My name. You have to stop counting, she said. Her voice was dry as paper. 70 is the number of the threshold. You cross it, you don't come back. I asked her what she meant. She pointed at the clock. The hands were at 7 again, but now the face was different. The numbers had changed. Instead of 1 through 12, there was only one number, 70. Written in the center of the clock face in a script I didn't recognize. And the hands weren't hands anymore. They were arms. Arms reaching toward me, reaching out of the clock. I blinked. The clock was normal. My mother was lying down again, her eyes vacant, her mouth open. She was mumbling something. I leaned close. 70 days, she whispered. That's how long I've been here. 70 days since I forgot your father's face. 70 days since I forgot my own name. And on the 70th day, you forget how to breathe. She closed her eyes. Her chest rose, fell, rose, fell. I counted. 70 breaths per minute? No, that would be hyperventilation. She was breathing slowly. Once every 70 seconds. Inhale. 70 seconds. Exhale. 70 seconds. I called the nurse. The nurse checked her vitals. Everything was normal. She's just resting, the nurse said. You should go home. I went home, but the clock followed me. Not the physical clock, the number. 70 appeared on my microwave. 7 on my phone. 7 on the digital display of my thermostat. 70 degrees. I turned the heat down. The display changed to 69, then back to 70. I unplugged the thermostat. The screen went dark, then it lit up again. 70. I started losing time, not hours, seconds. I'd be making coffee, and then I'd blink, and the coffee would be cold. I'd be driving to work, and then I'd blink, and I'd be parked in my garage with no memory of the journey. I checked my watch. The second hand was skipping, forward, backward, always landing on 70. Not 70 seconds past the minute, just 70. A number that didn't belong on a watch face. On the 7th day, I found the staircase. It was in my mother's closet, not the closet in the hospice. The closet in her house, the house she'd lived in for 40 years, the house I'd been cleaning out one room at a time. I opened the closet door to get her winter coats. The back wall was gone. In its place, a staircase, wooden, narrow, leading down. I'd been in that closet 100 times. There was no basement under that part of the house. There was just a crawl space, but this staircase went down and down and down. I could see the steps disappearing into a darkness that wasn't dark. It was a color I'd never seen, a color that made my eyes water. I stepped onto the first stair. The wood creaked. The sound echoed for too long. I took another step. The air changed. It became heavy, wet. It smelled of soil and old roses and something else. Something that reminded me of my mother's skin in the last weeks of her life. The smell of a body preparing to leave. I descended. The stairs creaked in a rhythm. Creak, pause, creak, pause. 70 beats per minute. My heart matched it. I could feel my pulse slowing, thickening, becoming something else. I reached the bottom. There was a door, old, iron. The handle was a skull, not a human skull. Something smaller, a bird maybe, a crow. And above the door, carved into the stone lintel, the number 70. I pushed the door open. The room beyond was a library. Not a room, a cavern. The walls were lined with shelves, and the shelves were lined with books. Thousands of books. Millions. The ceiling was so high I couldn't see it. The floor was smooth stone, worn down by footsteps that had been coming here for a very long time. And in the center of the room, a desk. On the desk, a book. Open. I walked to the desk. The book was ancient. The pages were vellum, thick and yellow, and the text was handwritten in brown ink that looked like dried blood. I couldn't read the language, but I could understand it. The words rearranged themselves as I looked at them, shifting into English, shifting into sense. 70, the book said, the number of the threshold. Beyond 70, there is no return. Before 70, there is only forgetting. The threshold is a breath, a single breath. You have been holding it since the day you were born. When you exhale, you will cross. I looked up from the book. The library was gone. I was standing in my mother's hospital room. The clock on the wall said 7 line. My mother was sitting up in bed. Her eyes were clear. Her face was young. She was smiling. You found the staircase, she said. I was hoping you wouldn't, but you're my daughter. You never could leave well enough alone. I asked her what was happening. She patted the bed. I sat down next to her. Her hand was warm, solid. Not the papery hand of a dying woman, the hand of a woman in her 30s. 70 years ago, she said, I found the same staircase in my mother's closet, and I made a choice. I could cross the threshold and forget everything, my name, my family, my life, and become something else. Or I could stay on this side and remember. But remembering comes at a cost. Every memory you keep is a breath you hold, and you can only hold your breath for so long. She took my hand. Her grip was strong. I've been holding my breath for 70 years, she said. That's why I forgot. Not because of the Alzheimer's, because I chose to forget, one memory at a time. Your father's face, your first word, the smell of rain on summer pavement. I gave them all away. Each memory bought me another day on this side of the threshold. But I'm out of memories now, and I'm out of breath. She leaned close. Her breath was cold. It smelled of that underground place, the library, the books, the number. You have a choice, she whispered. You can hold your breath and stay here. You'll live a full life. You'll love, you'll lose, you'll forget. Slowly, painfully, one memory at a time. Or you can exhale. You can cross the threshold. And on the other side, you won't forget anything. You'll remember everything, every life, every death, every version of yourself that has ever existed. You'll remember what you were before you were born, and you'll remember what you'll become after you die. I asked her what was on the other side. She smiled. It was not a kind smile. 70, she said. That's the number on the door, not the room number. The number of times you've crossed before. This is your 70th life. Your 70th chance to remember, your 70th chance to forget. And when you exhale, you'll start the count over. 70 more lives, 70 more chances. Until you get it right, I stood up. The clock on the wall was spinning now. The hands were blurring. The face was melting. The number 70 was everywhere. On the walls, on the ceiling, in the palms of my hands. How do I get it right? I asked. My mother closed her eyes. Her face smoothed, became blank. became the face of a woman who had forgotten everything, even how to be afraid. You don't, she said. That's the point. There is no right. There is only the threshold, and the breath, and the number. Count to 70, hold it. Exhale. Start over. She stopped breathing. Her chest was still. Her hand was cold. I sat beside her for a long time. The clock ticked. 70 seconds. 70 seconds. Tick. I counted 70 ticks, then 70 more, then 70 more. I left the hospital. I drove home. I went to my mother's house. I opened the closet. The staircase was still there. The door at the bottom was open. I could see the library. I could see the book. I could see the threshold. I didn't go down. Not today. Maybe not ever. But the number is still with me. It's in every breath. Every pause between breaths. Every moment when I almost remember something I've forgotten. My mother said this is my 70th life. That means I've lived 69 before. I don't remember them. That's the point. But sometimes in the space between waking and sleeping, I catch a glimpse. A face I've never seen but somehow know. A place I've never been but somehow recognize. A number. Always the number. 70. I'm holding my breath right now. So for you, we've been holding it since the day we were born. Every word you read is a heartbeat. Every pause is a chance to exhale. Don't, because once you exhale, you'll remember. And once you remember, you can't unremember. You'll see the staircase in every closet, the door in every threshold, the number on every clock. I have to go now. My mother's house is empty. The closet is waiting. And I can feel my breath running out. 70 seconds, dot tick, 70 dot tick. Exhale, see you on the other side. Or maybe I'll see you here. It's hard to tell anymore. The number is the same either way.